Today, we're going to talk about solving inequalities by multiplying or dividing. Before we begin, let's practice translating graphs into expressions. So I would like you to draw this graph of an inequality and then write an inequality that represents this graph. You can pause the video here by pressing the space bar and then continue to check your answer. Okay, because there's a circle on 4, I know that 4 is the border point, so I'm going to write 4. Because the circle is open, I know that it's either less than or greater than, okay, because closed circles are when it's also equal. And because it's pointing to the left, and we see 3, 2, 1, then it's less. So I would call this x is less than 4. Let's try one more of these. Go ahead and pause the video, draw the graph, and try to write an inequality for this graph. This time, the border point is at -2, so we're comparing x, or whatever variable, to -2. The circle is closed, so we can put an equal sign as part of our inequality, and because it's pointing to the right, these are all the numbers that are greater or equal to -2. So x is greater or equal to -2. It really could be any variable. All right. Today we're going to talk about the multiplication property of inequality, both parts 1 and 2. Part 1 states you can multiply or divide both sides of any inequality by a positive number. Here's our first example. 4a is greater than 20. So 4 times some number is greater than 20. We're going to solve this just like a one-step equation. Put the line coming down from the inequality symbol, so that now represents the line of inequality. And in this case, because we have a multiplication problem, 4 times a, we'll solve this problem by dividing both sides by 4. On the left-hand side, we have 4a divided by 4. Well, 4 divided by 4 equals 1, so we have 1a. And we're just going to write a. The sense of the inequality remains the same. That's the direction that it faces. So a is greater than 20 divided by 4 equals 5. So a is greater than 5. Box it out, and now we want to graph a is greater than 5. So should the circle be open or closed? If you recall, greater than is right here. That's going to be an open circle. Okay, greater than means an open circle. So an open circle at 5. Which direction should it point? Since we want the numbers greater than 5, we want our line to go through 6, 7, 8, etc. So there's our graph for a is greater than 5. Here's a nice picture by M.C. Escher. Perspectives on a moonscape. Okay, our second example is a division problem. W divided by 5 is less than -9. W divided by 5 is less than -9. Again, put the line of inequality, and we know that everything on the left side this time will be less than what's on the right side of the inequality, which in this case is -9. So we're trying to undo the division by 5, so we do that by multiplying by 5. So 5w divided by 5. Well, 5 divided by 5 is 1, so we got w alone. W is less than the product of -9 and 5, which is -45. W is less than -45. Once again, we want a graph. Notice that I will just choose a random tick mark to make -45. We could be counting by any number. You don't need to have 45 tick marks to make this work. Again, we're going to want to open circle there because it's strictly less, and since we're talking about the numbers less than -45, we want to point to the left. Now we have -4 is greater or equal to 2x. How shall we solve this one? Put the line coming down from the equal sign. Feel free to pause the video, solve on your own, and then check your answer. I'm going to continue since this is a multiplication problem by dividing by 2. Okay, you have to be careful that you're dividing by what's on the same side with x and not what's on the other side. Here, 2 divided by 2 equals 1, so we have 1x or just x. And on the left side, we have negative 4 divided by 2 equals negative 2. Negative 2 is greater or equal to x. Now, for graphing purposes, we probably want to turn the inequality around. Remember, the sense or direction changes when you turn it around. So if negative 2 is greater than or equal to x, then we would say x is less than or equal to negative 2. This will be simpler to graph because that arrow will point in the same sign as the inequality symbol when x is on the left. Okay, so a closed circle at negative 2 pointing to the left, and that's our graph. Now we're going to talk about the multiplication property of inequality, part 2. You can also multiply both sides of an inequality by a negative number. But when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to reverse the sense. That's the direction of the inequality symbol. The inequality symbol will turn around. Negative 5 times m is less than 30. This is our last example for today. Put the line of inequality, and what are we going to do to both sides to solve this one? Divide by negative 5, because it's negative 5 times m. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 5. On the left-hand side, negative 5 divided by negative 5 equals 1. So that's 1m or just m. Now, because we divided by a negative, we have to reverse the symbol. Okay, when you divide or multiply by a negative number, when you have a negative coefficient, the sense of your inequality will change. So that's why the answer is m is greater than negative 6. And one last graph. Suppose we're going to want to open circle at negative 6, and we want everything greater.